You practice 8 locations, 17 doctors. Scott Davis, thanks so much for helping sponsor both the Touchdown Club here with a live broadcast and all you do for helping all the doctors, helping people every day. Guys and ladies, get your checkup, please. War Memorial Stadium, Ron Sally, John Latch, the new managers over there. Make sure and take advantage. We had them on the show the other day, had Ron on and talking about the people who had been married on the 50-yard line. More scoring going on with weddings than football games at War Memorial. I'm sorry. I bleed. I know. My mom will get on me if I go too negative now. That's the thing. I love my hog. Just having a little fun there. Also, Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Shauna Harper, Stephen Riker, Todd Dennis. Any of your insurance needs, please give these folks a chance to quote you. They'll work with you. Just tell them you're a Touchdown Club member, but we appreciate Shauna, Stephen, and Todd, Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Home, Auto Life, or other. Dairy Queen of Arkansas, Blake Lively, Nelson Lively, Todd Denton. Blake's here with us today. Excited about their new location. I got it screwed up last week. I'm sorry. We're going to Cabot, which will be, I'm going to tell you, that intersection is so busy as it is right now, Blake. I'm just going to tell you. I'm sure the folks in Cabot really appreciate a Dairy Queen, which will make it even crazier. But their third location will be opening. When is that going to be? Late spring. All right, you guys are rocking and rolling. Thank you for it's been great to have you as a sponsor this year. Genwell Financial Advisors, John Shrewsbury, Janet Walker, Scott Inman, and others. I get to see Scott every game at the Razorback game, and he's still doing work for IMG, pregame stuff. And if you have any questions, go to getreadyforthefuture.com for investments or retirement or anything you need to know with money. They're great to work with. We're proud to have Genwell Financial Advisors with us as a sponsor. The Big Red Stores, we have, normally we have the Hendricks brothers, but both the Hendricks brothers and Roger went to the Dallas Cowboy game yesterday. Yeah. So we've got the real workers here for Big Red today, the folks which is David Jr. and the rest of the gang. Store number 37 coming on the way. That's in Maumelle. Thank you guys for being here and appreciate the support. Crane Automotive, great to have Larry Crane, Chris Crane, Drew Dees, all the Crane family, and 17 dealerships. They sell more cars than anybody. Please drop the Touchdown Club name when you go into any Crane dealership. They employ 900 Arkansans, and we're proud that they're a part of the Touchdown Club. We appreciate it, guys. Hey, there's Drew. Thanks so much for being a sponsor this year. We appreciate it, as is every year. Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. We have 2 Players of the Week. We'll only honor one today because one's in Fort Smith. Do want to thank you to Wally Hall for being a board member and with us every year since the beginning. Wally, thanks. Always great to see him in the press box at every Razorback game, and always great to have Amanda Copley. We'll introduce our Player of the Week here in just a minute. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Wally. I'm going to skip over. I'm going to go to Simmons Bank right now and thank you. We got Richard Johnson and Barry Ledbetter up at the head stage. Great to have you guys up here. And I know we got a big group of Conway Simmons folks, too. I know Jason Culpepper is here, right? And he's head of the Conway area Simmons. Couldn't do it without Simmons, y'all. I was telling Coach, I said, Coach, make sure and try to sign under Steve Spurrier, Mike Dickey. You belong right up there with them. You've won as many national championships as Steve Spurrier. Now, I mean, you have. You have. It may not be at Division I yet, but you're getting there. By the way, let me just go ahead and throw it out there. Just in, off the press. UCA now is ranked number 3 in America in FCS. How about that? So that's exciting, but we couldn't do it without Simmons. Let's give all of our big sponsors such a round of applause for being so great. You guys know I've been doing this for what 13, 14 years. I do this. It's a effort of love and work, just like all of us up here. But so I'm going to take 1 second to do something personal. You guys have been following what I've been talking about. A legal issue. I want Jacob Lively and Judy Henry to come up here real quick. Come on up here real quick. You guys have heard me talking about 5 years ago. I started having to deal with a legal issue. 3 years ago, I went to Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. Come up on stage. You're like the Player of the Week, but a little bit different. So I have to do this real quick. So let me do this. We're just going to have a little fun here. Hold on. Because this was I was able to get my lawsuit resolved and am very pleased with the resolution. So I can't say any more than that other than saying, my future was in the hands of really Judy Henry when I went to Judy 3 years ago. I played with her husband, Cliff. He was my traveling roommate. He was a defensive back for the Razorbacks. So 3 years ago, I went to Judy and said, I need some help. I got a problem here. And she has been, OJ had the dream team. please let me say, I have the dog team. Now, the dog team, she is a bulldog in heels, and she's proud to say it. But you talking about a team that has fought and really grinded for me, I can't say a lot other than that I'm so proud that they were my attorneys at Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. And Jacob, this is his first year out of law school, and he was fantastic, a graduate of OBU. And so I just want to do a quick little presentation. Even though Jacob went to OBU, this is some champagne. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm an old linebacker, but he spent time away from his wife, who was pregnant, to help me get a resolution. So I want to give this to Jacob. And let's give him a round of applause. And then I got a little worried about year 3. You guys heard me. I'd come up and talk about it. I'm thinking, Jesus, you got to stop talking about this darn case in front of everybody. It went on for 3 years. But Judy, I couldn't have done it without you. I'm so proud to call you a friend and an amazing attorney. So, because you worked on it for 3 years, you get the big one. Oh, yeah, that's right. She brought her pastor here a few weeks ago. Well, he doesn't have to watch today. Thank you, Blake. Jacob. Thank you, Judy. Let's give another round of applause. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings. So you'll never have to hear me talk about my legal situation again. Praise God, that's done. Whew. But that's real, folks. Isn't that great that you hear at the Touchdown Club, I get to work with our sponsors and eat their food and pump their gas and get retirement advice and all these things. Money. Listen, I'll tell you, Simmons was very important too. I'm telling you, Simmons was very important. It's been a fight the last 3 years. So anyway, I'm just very thankful. I'm glad I can share it with everybody. I can share that with everybody. Real quick, I want to thank the NBC folks here. They do such a great job. Brent, Matt Johnson back there, Live Fidelity 6 that does our live stream. Dwayne Duncan, who just took those photos. Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate all your effort. RJ Hawk, who's here, even though his baby is not doing great at home. Thank you for doing our social media. RJ at LR Touchdown Club is our Twitter account. Our amazing check-in ladies every week do such a terrific job. And Debbie Wyman, who's our executive director, who works very hard every week. Let's give all those folks, our team, a round of applause. All right, it's time for our All-Arkansas Preps Player of the Week, and we actually have 2. One is Tay Gatewood, who's at a Southside High School, and he can't be here today, so we're going to get him his plaque. So all the attention is on Brandon Thomas. Brandon, come on up. He is a sophomore running back at North Little Rock High School. A few weeks back, this is when we're honoring him because we couldn't do it because of the Southwest Conference Touchdown Club meeting last week. He rushed for 170 yards and 1 touchdown on 25 carries in the Charging Wildcats 25-14 win over Bryant, which was a big win at the time. Put you, I think, to number 1 at the time. Then this past week, you win, what was the final score, Coach? 38-21 over Cabot. This week, he goes 25 carries for 189 yards. They remain number 1, and they get a bye this week, and they'll play the winner of Harbor Northside, correct? So they're off for a week, and this young man is just a sophomore. And I told him he looked a little bit like Barry Sanders in the face. I don't know if he can run like him. But let's give a Little Rock Touchdown Club welcome to our Player of the Week, Brandon Thomas. Do want to thank his mother, Laura Means. Great to have you here, Laura. And Coach Jamie Mitchell, who, Coach, you're doing a great job at North Little Rock. And you and Coach Campbell overlap a little bit. Those Mississippi ties, I thought you guys might. Well, I know this much. You're a darn good football coach. I know this guy's a darn good football coach, and we're great to have you here. And it's great to know you're going to have him back a couple more years. All right. I do want to recognize real quick before we get Rex up here for a recap. I tell you what, let's go ahead. Let's do the recap, and then I'll introduce a couple of special guests from UCA. Okay. All right, I can't wait to hear this. Everybody, Rex Nelson with the weekend recap.
Thanks. You know, David, given that Ouachita grad champagne, I'm reminded, David, of the old line, the only real difference between Baptists and Methodists is the Methodists will acknowledge each other in the liquor store when they see each other. You know, when Gary and I worked for Mike Huckabee in the governor's office, he'd tell the story. You'll remember this, Gary, and he swore it's a true story. Said a lady was making a beeline at him one day, and he could tell she was an old yellow dog Democrat and just didn't like him at all. And said she made a beeline for him and came up. She kind of sneered at him, and she said, well, and I guess you're one of those narrow-minded people that think only Baptists are going to heaven, aren't you? He said, no, ma'am, I'm a lot more narrow-minded than that. I don't think a lot of them are going to make it. So, well, a lot of football. Let's get to football. It is my favorite week of the year, the Battle of the Ravine. I'm glad to see all this Ouachita purple out here today. Looks very good. Lots of Ouachita purple. Actually, David, the old-timers at UCA won't mind me saying that because Ouachita's tied with Tech, and any good Arkansas State teacher's grad hates Arkansas Tech, right? So, yeah. But we can knock Tech out of there. But anyway, we're going to start today, not on the hill, we're going to start with the UCA Bears today. Number 3 in the country, as David said, in the new poll. 8-1 overall, 7-0 in the Southland Conference, 42-14 at Lamar. The Bears score 35 unanswered points beginning in the second quarter. They finish with 565 yards of offense, and they held Lamar to just 279 yards. Lamar falls to 1-8 overall, 0-7 in the conference. Get this, Lamar had only 26 yards rushing in the game. Now, 2 regular season games remain. I'm going to leave most of this for Coach. But their Incarnate Word in San Antonio this Saturday and Abilene Christian in Conway the following Saturday. Those 2 teams, and Coach doesn't want me saying this and jinxing anything, but they do have a combined record of 3-15. So I do think an outright conference championship and an undefeated regular season is very, very doable for the Bears right now. They are making our state look good on the national level. All right, about the best you can say about this one is it was a win. To quote our old buddy Houston Dale, all wins are precious, right? So that was precious. It's kind of like when you see a little baby that's really ugly and you say, oh, he's precious. And then you walk off and you say, damn, that was an ugly baby. Kind of like that. Arkansas 39, Coastal Carolina 38, before a bunch of empty seats that were watching in Fayetteville. Razorbacks do move to 4-5. Coastal Carolina came into the game 1-7, having lost 7 games in a row. But the Chanticleers, what is a Chanticleer? Anyway, they led 38-25 in the fourth quarter. Arkansas scores the winning touchdown with 1:55 left. Coastal Carolina now, a week earlier, had gained 183 yards. That's all they had against Texas State, my wife's alma mater. But they had 359 yards against the Razorbacks. Just in the way of comparison, then I'll move on. In previous games against SEC teams in their existence, Coastal Carolina had lost by 59 points at Georgia and by 60 points at South Carolina. And, of course, Arkansas State beat Coastal Carolina by 34 points earlier this season. All right, enough of that. GAC race, as I alluded to, coming down to the final week of the regular season. Arkansas Tech and Ouachita tied for the conference lead at 8-2. Ouachita hosts 6-4 Henderson in the Battle of the Ravine. Tech hosts a 7-3 Harding team that has now won 7 consecutive games after starting 0-3. Ouachita knocked off SAU, who was the preseason favorite in the conference, 45-42 in the Murphy USA Classic at El Dorado. Now get this, because I don't think I've ever seen this. There were 4 lead changes in the final 4 minutes. SAU scored on a 13-yard pass with 3:34 left to go up 35-31. Ouachita scores on a 47-yard pass with 2:43 left to go up 38-35. SAU scores on a 9-yard pass with 58 seconds left to go up 42-38. And then Ouachita scores on a 13-yard pass with 33 seconds left to win 45-42. Neither one of them played any defense. SAU had 611 yards of offense. Ouachita had 573. SAU's quarterback in a losing cause, Barrett Renner, set a school record with 533 yards passing. But Ouachita stays tied for the lead, as does Tech, which cruises to a 48-10 victory over a Southeastern Oklahoma team that had started the season 6-0. They've now lost 4 consecutive games, Southeastern. Tech has a senior running back named Braden Stringer, who's a good one. 230 yards rushing, 4 TDs. Wonder Boys rushed for 390 yards as a team, 535 yards of total offense. Meanwhile, Harding, as I said, wins its 7th straight game, 44-13 rout of 2-8 East Central Oklahoma. Harding has scored 40 or more points in 3 consecutive games. And get this, Henderson, here we go again. They come from behind in the 4th quarter, 2 late touchdowns. They beat UAM 28-21 in Monticello to drop the Weevils to 5-5. Henderson thus extends the nation's longest road winning streak in every division of college football to 31 games. Henderson returned an interception for a touchdown to tie the game at 21-21 and then took the lead for good with 5:51 remaining. So 31 consecutive road games, and Saturday is a road game, even though they literally only have to walk across the street to play the football game. Now, UAPB played a lot better Saturday. Still fell, though, 31-26 to Grambling and Pine Bluff. UAPB is 2-7 overall, 1-4 in conference, has now lost 5 consecutive games. Grambling's good. They're 8-1 overall, 6-0 in conference. The Tigers beat UAPB 70-0 last season. So they've covered up some ground. They stayed in the game through the 4th quarter and had a chance late. Division III, you Conway folks, Hendricks moves to 7-2 overall, 5-2 in the conference. Yeah, big victory. 70 points, in fact, 70-42 over Rhodes, which falls to 3-6 and 2-6. Got a sophomore quarterback named Miles Thompson, who set single-game school records for passing with 457 yards, for total offense with 522 yards, and for touchdown passes with 7 touchdown passes as the Warriors score 70 points in that victory. And in NAIA football, Line, only its 3rd season of football, its most victories ever. They had 3 last year. They moved to 4-6, 2-5 in the conference, 34-14 victory over Bacone. All right, back to the SEC. Alabama struggled a little bit by Alabama standards, but still beats LSU 24-10. Tide's 9-0 and 6-0. LSU falls to 6-3, 3-2. 7th consecutive victory for Bama over LSU, dating back to the regular season in 2011 when LSU won. Remember, Bama came back and won in the national championship game, and that started the streak of 7. Tigers had come in as a 3-touchdown underdog, so Nick Saban has something to be mad about at least. Auburn moves to 7-2, 5-1 in conference, 42-37 at Texas A&M. Aggies are now 5-4 and 3-3. Jarrett Stidham threw for 268 yards. Kerryon Johnson rushed for 145 yards for the Tigers. Georgia, number 1. They are 9-0, 6-0 in conference, 24-10 over South Carolina, which drops to 6-3 and 4-3. Georgia, in fact, 9-0 for the first time since 1982. Mississippi State improves to 7-2, still on the Razorback schedule, with a tougher than expected 34-23 victory over UMass. UMass is now 2-7. They were a 31-point underdog, and Mississippi State did struggle against them. Tennessee 4-5, 24-10 win over 5-4 Southern Mississippi. Vols, though, still have not thrown a touchdown pass in the past 22 quarters. Ole Miss, they score with 5 seconds remaining. They upset Kentucky in Lexington, 37-34, and so they go to 4-5 and 2-4. Kentucky falls to 6-3 and 3-3. Vanderbilt 4-5, 31-17 over Western Kentucky. And Missouri, Arkansas's last regular season opponent, which started the season 1-5, is getting better. Now 4-5 overall, 1-4 in the conference, 45-16 over a Florida team that really appears to have quit. The Gators are 3-5 overall, 3-4 in conference. They've lost 4 consecutive games, and get this, they have been outscored 87-23 the past 2 weeks. All right, this week, SEC, Alabama at Mississippi State, Georgia to Auburn, Florida at South Carolina, Kentucky at Vanderbilt, Louisiana Lafayette at Ole Miss, Tennessee at Missouri, New Mexico at Texas A&M, and Arkansas at LSU. In the state, Battle of the Ravine in Arkadelphia. If you've never been to one, it needs to be on your bucket list. Harding at Arkansas Tech, UAM at SAU, and Millsaps at Hendrix. So games in Arkadelphia, Russellville, Magnolia, Conway. Get out and see a college football game. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rex. I don't know if Coach Campbell knows. You know, I've been known in my day to create a trophy or two. Look at the head table. My gosh. We don't even have any places to put them at the head table. We got so many of them. But just out of curiosity, you know, this weekend is the Battle for the Boot, which is a game between LSU and Arkansas. Just does anybody raise your hand if you think that Arkansas will win that game? Do I have any hope? There you go. All right, well, good. Listen, we got a few. You got a few. Hope that's right. We'll move on. I'm just thank you. God bless you. Do want to recognize a few UCA. Listen, I know there's a big group of UCA folks here. I saw Kel Gober, who is VP of for Institutional Advancement. Kel's here. I saw Christina. I know Christina. Ooh, wow, that's a major fumble, Kevin Crass. Hey, you're not the only one wet over there on that one. That's the person next to you. That is a big fumble there. Christina Munoz-Matson is here. It's her title. Christina, it's always great to have you. Great to have Kel here. I know we've got our board members, Bunny Adcock and Brad Lacey, Chief of Staff, Kelly Erstein, and we have the president, and if you will, the president of UCA, Houston Davis. Where's Houston? Please stand. Let's give him a round of applause, please. And those other names that I just mentioned, Kel, Christina, Bunny, all you stand up real quick, all the folks with UCA. Let's recognize all the UCA folks. And I know I probably left a bunch of names because I hear there's a great contingent of UCA folks here, and we're really honored to have you. We really are. We appreciate you coming. We're honored to have the head coach of UCA every year. And before Jim comes up and recognizes Coach Campbell, I did want to say, you know, Coach Campbell and I have a connection. And I love the fact that very rarely do I get to be around guys that grew up on the Panhandle of Florida. And he went to one of the high schools that we played against. He went to Pensacola Tate. And you know how you remember when your losses more than you win? Well, I had blown out we were the #1 ranked team in the state of Florida. #1, highest classification. I was first-team All-State linebacker. And we were scheduled to play Tate in the first round of the state playoffs. Our quarterback got hurt. John Little ended up being an all-conference SEC player at Georgia. Our starting safety who played Auburn, played shortstop at Auburn, he was out. So I think we went to Tate and we lost, what was it, 14-10 or 10-7. I found out, I had to ask Coach, Coach, now what year were you? He's a much younger man than me. He was a freshman that year when I was a senior, so you didn't dress out. But we lost 14-7 or 10-7, and you guys end up beating everybody the next 3 games like 35-0. I mean, our game was basically the state championship. And I always remember thinking, wow, what if? I wonder what would happen if all of us had a chance to play. But that's my connection to Coach Campbell, so I know right now he knows football. He was at Tate High School in Florida, so I know that. But all you have to do is look. He ends up being in a gym. I hope I don't step on what you're saying. He starts the guy starts 43 straight games at center. That shows you how tough of a guy he is in college. But then he knows how to win national championships. He wins a national championship, Division II. We mentioned the Cliff Harris Award. Delta State, 14-1 Division II national championship. Then 2007, co-national championship at Mississippi Gulf Coast. So it's really funny. You know, Tommy made on our morning show, he said, man, I like that Steve Campbell. There's a likability about Steve Campbell, which I think is great. We all like to like our coaches, don't we? But we also like for them to win. And I'm just saying. And this guy knows how to coach. And we're honored that you're at UCA. We're excited about the things you're doing, Coach, and for taking time. And Jim, come on. I think Jim's got some. You know, Jim's going to go places I can't go on your introduction. It's just Jim Rasco, everybody.
I didn't know David was going to get into all the high school stuff. I thought I was going to be telling some new stuff. Okay. As all of you know, Steve Campbell's in his 4th year as head coach, University of Central Arkansas. And as Rex just told you, last Saturday night in Beaumont, Bears beat Lamar 42-14 to bring the UCA conference record for the season to 7-0 and first place among the 11 schools in the Southland Conference. Well, this is the 4th consecutive November that I've had the honor of introducing Steve. So in the past 3 years, I've given you a lot of details about Steve's coaching career. So this year I want to go back and give you some highlights of Steve's career prior to his graduation from college. Now, you in the audience will be able to watch Steve's reaction and see how many of these instances he remembers and how many he may have forgotten. So let's go back to Pensacola, Florida, July 6, 1976. The Florida Little Major League Baseball Tournament, which is consisting of teams made up of 10-year-old boys, begins today with 6 teams in action. The team from the town of Cantonment, featuring Steve Campbell, was scheduled to open the double elimination tournament at 8 p.m. And I'll add that the town of Cantonment is about 20 miles north of Pensacola. Now, do you remember that game, Coach, or the tournament? He remembers it, okay. Still got the trophy. Now, we don't have the big screens today, so I don't have any pictures I put up. I gave Matt some pictures, but there's no big screen, so we can't put those up today. Okay, one item that was not sports-related was the April 1981 write-up of the wedding of Steve's older sister, Lisa. Steve will remember serving as an usher in the wedding held in the Beulah Baptist Church in Cantonment. I knew you had that one, okay. Now, in August of 1981, 10th grader Steve Campbell is expected to be in the starting lineup for Cantonment Tates High. Sure enough, 1 month later, on September the 11th, 1981, there was a play that I'll bet that Steve will never forget. In a scoreless tie against Huntsville, Alabama's Butler High, Tate's defensive end, Eric Hector, separated Butler's quarterback from the football, and defensive tackle Steve Campbell scooped it up and raced 15 yards to score a touchdown for the only score of the first half. Steve's Tate High went on to win 27-7. I know you remember that one. All right. We're not through now. I'll mention one last social event. In May of 1982, Steve served as best man at his brother's wedding in that same Beulah Baptist Church. Okay, let's move to his junior year in high school. All right, the game of the year in Steve's junior year was played on September the 17th, 1982, before 8,000 fans at the home of rival Choctaw High. Trailing 12-7 with less than a minute to go, Tate's quarterback hit end Steve Campbell on a long pass that Campbell caught on the 11-yard line, and then Steve danced to the 1-yard line for a 41-yard gain. Burns scored on a quarterback sneak on the next play, and Tate High pulled off a 13-2 miracle win. As a senior in 1983, Steve was listed as a 6-foot, 215-pound defensive nose tackle who doubled as a center on offense. Steve's highlight of his senior year was October 21, when he recovered a teammate's fumble in the end zone for a touchdown against Tate's big rival, Pensacola High. 3 touchdowns in 3 years. That's not bad for a lineman, I tell you. Following his senior season, Steve chose to accept a scholarship to southeastern Louisiana over offers from Wisconsin and Dartmouth. One last note on high school, I found the results of the Sunshine State Track and Field Meet held on July 25th, 1984. Steve Campbell of Tate High won first place in both the discus throw and the shot put. All right, I've used up most of my time for today, and since I've told you a lot about Steve's college career in each of my prior introductions, I'll fast forward through the next 4 years as he was a player in college. 1985, as a sophomore, Steve was the only Southeastern Louisiana University player to be named to the Gulf South Conference Academic All-Star Team. This economics major maintained a 3.59 grade point average. Following the 1985 season, Southeastern dropped football, so Steve transferred to Troy State and was the starting center for the Trojans for his last 2 college seasons. With Steve as the center, Troy won 10 games and reached the second round of the national playoffs in 1986, and then won 12 games in the NCAA Division II National Championship in 1987. Steve was first-team all-conference on that national championship team, and he was named to the academic all-conference team both seasons he played for Troy. So come back next year when Steve's our guest speaker, and I'll switch and give you the highlights of his college career again. Now, winding up, his coaching career, not his college career. In winding up, I'll remind you that in December of 2014, Steve was inducted into the National Junior College Athletic Association Hall of Fame. So here he is, UCA's Hall of Fame coach, Steve Campbell.
Thank you. I tell you what, that is the most unique introduction I've ever got. As I'm sitting there, all those memories start coming back. I do remember the 1976 10-year-old. I've still got the trophy. I remember, 76 was a bicentennial. I remember that trophy's got red, white, and blue all over the trophy. So I definitely remember that. And as he was. It's great to see so many folks from Conway here today. It's always an honor to be able to come up and speak about the great things at UCA, and it's great to see so much support from Conway here today. As he was talking, I was thinking about, a lot of those things, that the memories that he brought up really went a long way in shaping our coaching career. You talked about or David was mentioning that the year we won the state championship, and David, that was a 17-0 victory. It wasn't 17-14 or 14-10. It was 17-0. Yeah. But I remember what I remember about that year. I was a freshman on the high school football team. And back then, the freshmen, we were basically the scout team for the varsity. And we were supposed to be really good on the varsity that year. I played for a coach. My high school head coach was a guy named Carl Madison, who is the second all-time winningest coach in the state of Florida. He had a great high school career. Anyway, we were preseason number one in the state. We opened up against Choctawhatchee. And Choctaw beat us. Again, I'm a freshman. I'm not on the varsity, but I am on the scout team practicing against those guys, and you sit on the sideline and watch a game. Anyway, we get beat 19-13 in the first game of the year. Well, anyway, that next week at practice helped form and shape my coaching career. Coach Madison came out there, and you talking about we got after it for a full week. We had back then we used to practice in a pecan orchard. You'd walk through the woods, and then a little field would open up, and that's where you'd practice. And we got after it, and we had, say, 100 guys from 9th through 12th that were on the football team. Back then, there were no 3-hour limits to practice. Back then, you did not get water. There wasn't people running around giving you water or anything like that. I mean, you went and went and went and went. I remember we had one guy quit during that practice. He just said, "Man, I can't go no more. I'm done." And he took off and took off through the little trail. It would be about as he took off through the little trail, leaving that pecan orchard. And I remember Coach Madison at that point, and he said, "Give me a coach over there and block that trail. Nobody else is getting." So anyway, we kept practicing and kept getting after it. And before long, he had coaches stationed at that trail. People were taking off through the woods. People were taking off through the woods, through the pecan orchard to get away. And anyway, and as you're talking about that game, that was the first round victory over Panama City Mosley. It all goes back to he got everybody right, but we got right that first week, and it carried on to we were able to the varsity again. I'm watching. We beat Miami Columbus in the state championship. They had the Buanacanis. They had a Shula playing quarterback. Great football team. But as you were talking, all those memories were coming back that helped shape my coaching philosophy and all of that. So it is great to be here today. Great to visit with you. As I was talking to our staff today about telling them I'm coming to speak at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, they said, "Coach, Blake got up here and kind of gave a hard joke at the Razorbacks." And I said, I'm not going to do that. We're not going to do that. They said, well, at least you ought to get on Blake, And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Blake's one of my buddies. Blake and I used to coach together, and we're buddies from way back, and I've got too much respect for them and their program. They've got a great program, and Blake does a great job. Matter of fact, they played us as tough as anybody last year. I mean, they were right there with us until late. So they so we don't go there. That's not what we do. But I'm very, very proud of the this year is a year about overcoming adversity and guys stepping up. This year really has been a fun year. The guys have really done a good job of stepping up into new roles. Last year we had a good football team last year. Wound up going 10-3, making it to the second round of the playoffs, and was able to accomplish a lot. But we lost a lot of great players last year. And the question was, how are you going to be able to replace all of these guys that were such difference makers for you? Last year we had a receiver, Desmond Smith. Desmond was from Springdale, outstanding football player. He was the school's, last year he broke the school's all-time receptions record and broke the school's all-time receiving yards record. Great football player. First team all-conference for like 3 years. He graduated. Also at receiver, we lost a guy named Jatavius Wilson, who was the school's all-time all-purpose yardage guy. He ran all the speed sweeps for us, caught the bubbles, returned kicks, caught the ball down the field. We're talking about we lost the two best receivers possibly in the history of the school. So the question was, who's going to step up? What are you going to do there? Also coming into the year, we were really good on the defensive line. Last year we had the number 2 rush defense in the country. You couldn't run the ball on us. We were really, really good against teams that tried to run the football. But the deal was our nose guard was a senior, outstanding player in Terrence Partee. Our defensive tackle, the 4 technique, great football player, Jordan Tolliver, first team all conference. He was a senior. On the other side, Dawson Hadnot, senior, great football player. We were really, really good, but you had 3 great players, 3 all-conference guys that were big-time football players. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to replace those guys? And the beauty and the thing that's been so much fun about this year is we've had some guys step up. Each year, our SID, Steve East, he's here. They put together a poster that's got your schedule on it. It tells you the date and who you play and everything, and it's got pictures of your upcoming players, the guys that are returning, some of your top guys on that deal. Well, this year we had 4 guys on that poster, and I felt really good about because we got those 4 guys coming back. Well, by the time we started, 1 week into practice, 2 of those 4 guys were out for the year. These were guys that we were counting on to step up and fill in those spots. They're done. They have not dressed for a game. So it was looking a little dire for us if you didn't know how hard the other guys had been working and if you didn't know who was going to step up. So to fill those shoes, we've had some receivers step up and do tremendously well. Some guys that Roman Gordon's a guy, he's the 5th leading receiver in the league this year. He's a guy that waited his turn, and then when his number was called, he has stepped up and made a lot of tremendous plays. Brandon Cox from Wright and Conway is the 4th leading receiver. He didn't have as much of an opportunity last year to do it because we had 2 all-time guys. Well, this year he's 4th in the conference, doing a tremendous job. He's definitely stepped up for us there at receiver. On the defensive line, where you go, there's really no way that they can be as good as they were against the run and be as good on defense as what they were last year. Right now, we've got the nation's 2nd leading sack guy. He was a backup to one of those guys that graduated, and the nation's 5th-rated sack guy. So both those guys are 1 and 2 in our conference, and doing an outstanding job of stepping up for guys that, you know, there was really no way for those guys to replace. So that's what makes me, you know, so very proud of this year's football team. They knew where our areas of concern were, and they knew where people may have thought that we may possibly have a weakness, and those guys really, really went to work and focused on turning a weakness into one of our biggest strengths. And that's the beauty of football, and that's why it's so fun to coach, to watch guys that maybe you got a question about, to watch them move up and to be able to not only do well but to excel and be guys that are either very top of the conference or very, very top in the nation. You know, coming into the year, you know, Hayden Hildebrand is right now. To me, you know, he ought to be the Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Is having a tremendous year. Our quarterback, when, you know, I don't know, a couple of months ago, the question was being asked, what are you going to do about your passing game? You've got some running game coming back. Your O-line is basically back intact, besides the All-American that was supposed to be back that got hurt. But you're losing all of your receivers. What are you going to do there? Well, Hayden now leads the nation. He's 3rd in the nation at any level, behind that Baker Mayfield, and he was behind, I think, the guy at Oklahoma State. I'm not sure, and that guy threw for a ton of yards. He was 3rd in the nation at any level, 1st in the nation at the Division I FCS level in pass efficiency. So it's really a testament to those guys stepping up and being able to accept a challenge and excel once they've accepted that challenge. This year, you know, we talked a little bit about what's left on the schedule. I did not know that, and I won't repeat that. You know, I guess what are they? They're 3-15, 3-16 left. They're much better than that. Much better. Their record. They're much better than what their record indicates, and they really are. I'm not just saying that. They really, really are. So we've got to. We've definitely got to prepare each and every week. This week we play. A very good football team in Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word started football, I guess, about 6 years ago, and each year they've gotten better and better and better. And we all know how good, you know, UAB is winning right now, and they hadn't played football. You know, they were without football for the last 2 years. So you can definitely get it going quickly and get some things turned around. And Incarnate Word, who is our opponent coming up this week, is definitely in that category. Very good football team. And then the final home game is against Abilene Christian, who is also they've just built a big, beautiful facility and put a lot into their program, and they're on the up and up. They have on their way up. They just hired the coach from Northwest Missouri, who had won about the last 3 Division II national championships. So we've definitely got our work cut out for us over these next couple of weeks, but it's something that we're very, very excited about. I'm excited about all of the guys from Arkansas that are contributing so much to our success. You know, our top 2 leading scorers are from Arkansas. Our kicker, Matt Cummins, is at the top of the league, and he's our leading scorer on our football team. He's from Conway High School. Our leading receiver, who's one of the tops in the league and one of the tops in the nation, from Conway High School. Our leading tailback, who is a great football player. He went for 120-something yards against Kansas State, who has the #1 rush defense in the Big 12. He went for 120 against them. He's from Gosnell, Arkansas. My starting offensive guard, all conference guys from Morrilton, from Morrilton, Arkansas. So we have a lot of great players from right here in the state of Arkansas. Our starting corner, who's an outstanding player, Tavion Garrison's from right here in Bryant. Our backup kicker, who he's 2 for 2 on the year in field goals, is from right here in Bryant. Our starting nose guard, Bubba Williams, Javian Williams, who is doing an outstanding job, is from right here. Coach Mitchell from North Little Rock. So there are a ton of guys, a lot of great talent from right here in the state of Arkansas, and we're proud to have them down the road in Conway, and those guys are really performing well and are doing a great job on the football field. Now, the guys are doing a great job on the field, and we're very proud of that, and we've got to keep it going. We've got a lot of goals and expectations for this year. Of course, our first goal is to win the conference championship. In order to do, if we win this week, worst case scenario, you're conference champions. You know, regardless of what happens after that, we take it 1 week at a time. Let's win this week, and that'll put us at 8-0 in the conference with only one game left. Everybody else has at least one loss, and that one loss would be to us, would be the team with one loss, would be Sam Houston. So win this game and you're conference champions. Then we'll worry about the next one after that. Take it 1 week at a time. But we've got a lot of goals that we want to accomplish on the field. What I'm really proud of, the job that the guys are doing off the field. Just mentioned a couple of those guys. Hayden Hildebrand leads the nation in pass efficiency. Outstanding job. Hayden is doing his internship right now. He's in 6 hours. He'll graduate at Christmas. Gilberto Garcia, that guard I was talking about. Tell you about my offensive line. That guard I was telling you about from Morrilton. He's already graduated with his degree. All-conference guy on the field, got his degree in his back pocket. He finishes his MBA at Christmas. Outstanding job. You know, what a great student, what a great ambassador for UCA. Tell you about my left tackle, great football player, Cade Camp. He's already graduated, got his degree. He's well on his way toward his master's degree. So that's my center, Micah Parton, graduates at Christmas. He's doing his internship right now with over a 3.5. That leaves two of my O-line that hadn't graduated yet. Well, one of them's a freshman. All right, there's no way. All right, and then the other one, John Austin Cook hadn't graduated yet. He's a junior. He's got a 3.86 in pre-med. He made a B in genetics too, and that was the most upset I've ever seen him. I mean, so I'm really proud of the job that those guys are doing in the classroom. Starting corner Tavion from right here in Bryant, already graduated. George Odom, who I think ought to be, defensive player of the year for the conference. George is doing his internship right now with the United Way there in Conway. He'll graduate at Christmas. So the guys aren't only doing a great job on the football field that we're very proud of, but the thing that's going to be with them 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now is they're getting that degree. They're getting out in the community and they're getting involved and they're taking care of their business in the classroom. Really proud of the efforts of the guys. I tell you what, the home game atmosphere, we have played some, the people left on the schedule, again, are 3 and something. I didn't know how many they did here. They've only won 3, but they're quality opponents. We have beaten some very quality opponents up until this point. The Sam Houston game was a huge game for us. Sam Houston had won something like 20-something conference games in a row when we had them at home this year, and they hadn't lost. They had not trailed in a conference game in 18 games. They hadn't been behind in a conference game in that previous, in 2 years. We jumped up on those guys and were able to beat them at home 41-30. 2 weeks ago. And they're now ranked number 4 or 5 in the nation, and we're 3 or 4. So they're a really good football team. McNeese State, we played McNeese 2 weeks ago. McNeese was 7-1. Their only loss was on a last-second field goal to Nicholls State. I don't know if y'all know about Nicholls, but Nicholls led Texas A&M in the fourth quarter. All right, and Texas A&M pulled away, beats Nicholls 24-14. Well, McNeese's only loss was to Nicholls. All right, on a last play of the game field goal, they get beat 37-35. And then McNeese, when we played them, had won 6 in a row up to that point. They had given up 10 points in the previous 16 quarters. They'd gone 4 games in a row. They gave up 1 field goal late in the fourth when their 2s were in, and they'd given up a touchdown on a kickoff return. We had those guys 2 weeks ago at home, so it was and they were one of the top ranked teams in the country. So it was definitely a battle that we were looking forward to. And you know, we get in the game, and it's anyway. We wound up beating them 47 to 17. Really, really proud of the way that the guys came out and played. They're a fun bunch to watch, a fun bunch to coach. And there's a lot of special guys on that football team. The trait that you know, that permeates through, you know, as I was saying, I've been blessed to have been a part of 3 different national championships, and all of them have good players. But the thing that permeates the common thread that you find in all of those national championship teams is their unselfishness and their love for each other. They're wanting to go the extra undemanded mile for their teammates. And this group is really that way. They're a fun bunch to coach. They're a group that really likes being around each other, and they get after it on Saturdays, and we're proud to to coach them and look forward to these next couple of games. Look forward to hopefully seeing y'all at the football games. The atmosphere in Conway has been tremendous. Our home games have been really, really good. So if any of you Razorback or Red Wolf fans are looking for something to do on a Saturday, y'all travel on over to Conway and get behind those Bears. Thank y'all so much.
We'll have a couple questions for you real quick. I'll be first. Coach, you've won 2 national championships. Is that the thing? Do your players, do they know about your background and that, you know, the goal obviously is to win a conference championship, but, you know, the ultimate goal is to win a national championship. You've done it. That's one question. The second is Carson Wentz is an FCS quarterback.
Yep.
I'm sure that's been great for you know, your level of football and the kind you play, and that to show, you know, you've had guys that have won the Willie Rofe Award, won the Dan Hampton Award as the best lineman here through the Touchdown Club, and just talk about maybe the level of talent, how good it is, and playing in the next league, next level. The other thing is this: do you think football, you know, you're a successful football coach at JUCO, Division II. Do you think you can apply the same thing and be just as successful as D1? Is football?
Yeah, you know, first the talent level. Yeah, Carson Wentz is doing. You know, I think I don't watch much in it. We work on Sundays, but I do know that that he's doing well in the NFL, and you know, but some of your greatest players, you know, you arguably the greatest running back of all time. At one point, you'd say Walter Payton. He played at the FCS level. You'd say who's the greatest receiver of all time? Arguably, a lot of people would say Jerry Rice. He played at the FCS level. You would say who's the greatest O-lineman? Some people would say Jackie Slater, possibly. You know, he played at the FCS level. Buck Buchanan, defense. You would, you know, so you start looking at it. There is not, yeah. And when we play, you know, I've got all the respect in the world, as one should, for the FBS. A lot of great talent in FBS. But the FCS level, tremendous talent. You know, it's Division I football. It's Division I football. And if you know, a couple of years, you know, my first year here, we played Texas Tech. I think that game wound up 42-35. We had our chances. The next year, we played a Sugar Bowl team that went to the Sugar Bowl, Oklahoma State. It's 16-8 going into the fourth quarter, and they're a Sugar Bowl team. There's not a dime's bit of difference to me between FCS and FBS. You know, on any given Saturday, you know, one team has a chance to, you know, the team that doesn't turn it over, the team that can stop the run, and the team that explosive plays is going to be the team that wins. You know, and as far as, you know, the difference in the levels, I've coached from Division II to junior college to Division I AA, FCS, to, you know, I was an assistant at Mississippi State and G8 at Auburn. I've been, you know, there's not a dime's bit of difference. I mean, Jamie will tell you, I mean, if you block a shade in the 5, the same way that you block a shade in the 5, you know, in the SEC or at the high school level, it's all the same. There's really, you know, there's not that big a difference. You're dealing with young people and their, you know, their needs and their goals and are all the same regardless of the level of football. So you know, there's a bunch of, you know, to me, football is football, and you know, it's all the same regardless of the level. Yes, sir.
Yesterday morning, I was in church at Conway, and one of your
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, that is one of the things that you definitely have to make concessions for. We have mandatory study halls for all of our players that are all incoming freshmen, all transfers have mandatory study hall. We've got tutors assigned to available for our players that are in that are either incoming or transfers. Then once they've shown that they have sufficient GPA after that first year, and boom, they're at a 3.2, we make study hall optional for them. If the tutors are there for you, they're available. The Learning Lab is available for you, but it's not mandatory. And then we've got, like this morning, our first deal, we practiced last night. We lifted and ran. We got back at 4 in the morning yesterday, 4 or 5 in the morning by the time we got the buses unloaded and everything like that. We had a team meeting yesterday at 6, got in the weight room, lifted, ran, watched the film, everything like that. Then this morning, first thing we do to start each week off is we have academic meetings at 7 in the morning. Each position coach sits down with his player, goes over each class, what was turned in last week, what test did you get back, what's due this week, what days it due on, what tests do you have. They have to write down and go through everything that was turned in, everything that is due, what do you expect to make on it. So then that way during the week we can hey, now you got so-and-so due on Thursday. Have you started on it yet? No, sir. Well, then you need to be in my office tonight from 6 to 8 or from 6 until you get it done. So that's what we do. We've got academic advisors and things of that nature, but each position coach is accountable. And then as soon as that meeting's over, we have a staff meeting, and we go around the room. You get your deal of at-risk students, and you go through and you have a plan for each either at-risk student or everybody that might need a little push, and you put together a specific plan. And then we adjust that plan. If a guy shows back up on that list 2 weeks later and we already put together a plan, then we go, now, hey, what we're doing is not working. What else are we going to do? So you got to take but a large majority, normally after that first 3 semesters, 2 to 3 semesters, those guys start really taking a lot of ownership. And once they have they understand the setup. It's an easy plan to follow, and they'll get their degree. So it's something that's worked good for us.
All right, everybody, let's give it up for Steve Campbell, UCA. Go Bears.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Great job. Steve East, thank you. Thanks for being here. Next week, the James Street Award. See you next Monday. Thanks for being here, everybody.